Guys, hope you're all doing well and that you've been keeping safe. Welcome back to another candid video where I just share various thoughts on some of the things that are presently happening inside of Earth 2. The first thing that I wanted to talk about quickly is the resource validation system that we have upcoming to be released next month through June. This resource validation system, as we've alluded to, will give benefits to players who successfully validate resources on their property which they believe exist on their property but have not been, for whatever reason, detected by our systems. So I'll just give a very, very quick rundown on how this will work. A player will have the opportunity to submit a validation. Other players will have the opportunity to validate or support that submission of the resource request, validation request. Now, a player who submits the validation for resources, they can, in fact, also support their own request. When you support a request, you stake essence. Now, there'll be a certain limit of essence that can be staked on every request, and we're hoping that the way that we are going to structure it will allow for multiple people to be involved with validating a request, but one of the people or players who are validating the request can be the actual person or player who submitted the validation themselves. If the validation is successful, they will get back bonus essence on top of what they staked on the request or the validation. So I'll give you a quick scenario. Let's say that I'm a player, I've got tiles in a certain country. I believe I have a gold mine that is located on where my tiles are at, and it's not showing up on the Earth 2 resource heat map yet. Therefore, I go and submit a request to have these resources validated. I obviously believe strongly in my request, and I stake essence, 100 essence or something like that. I stake essence to validate that request because I'm supporting my own request. Other players can also come in and stake essence up to a certain amount per property. Once that property is validated to, in fact, have that resource, if it is all correct, every player who's staked their essence in that validation will get back a higher percentage. It could be 20%, 30%, it could be 50%. They will get a higher amount of essence versus what they staked. Now, there have also been questions about players validating resources in the same area. There might be a player or players who have tiles that are associated to the same gold mine or the same location for oil or whatever it may be. In this situation, you really need to stake your request to validate the resources as early as possible if you want to get that bonus essence for successfully validating or requesting resources on the property. What this means is that, let's say that player 1 has gone in, they've got a property that's on a gold mine, they've submitted a request to validate that gold mine. Once that validation goes through, once the gold mine becomes validated by our team, not in all cases, but in many cases, what we will do is cast a net over any other existing validations in that direct area. So we can grant the validation for all of those in the same area. So if you do not have an active request in place, you will get that resource when it's validated if your property falls within the area that we grant the resource permission to, the permission for the resource to exist. However, if you do not have that request in place with essence staked, you won't get the essence bonus. Because of this, we plan to allow probably like a week at least for players to get in and submit their validations on properties that they believe have the resource that they're requesting. In the first instance, like gold, oil, whatever it may be in the future. So we'll give that buffer zone probably a week or so to players to be able to make sure that they're request is in place. However, after that week's time, if that resource gets validated on a property, we're going to cast a net and say, okay, all these other properties in the area will automatically get it. If you have an existing request in place and essence staked, you'll automatically receive that essence bonus once just one property is validated in that area. What this obviously helps us to do is the system that we're building is that we can validate places and include multiple validation requests in one approval as opposed to us going through thousands, hundreds, thousands of approvals at the same time. So we kind of cast a net and validate a whole group. But if you don't have your request in place, you'll miss the essence bonus, but not the resource itself. Hope that makes sense. And Aussie One says, okay, so resources can be woven without any ecosim buildings constructed. Was the weaver part of the mentor? So just to answer that quickly, yes, the weaver is included. It's an internal part of the mentor. So yes, you can have a mentor sitting on a tile. That mentor has a weaver inside it that has the ability to weave the resources into raw materials, or the detection of resources into raw materials. Limited building blocks can be held by each ecosim building before needing to be transported to local storage or transported away to be traded at a different location. This sounds like there will be trading hubs. My new theory is that there will be added value of owning tiles in an Earth-2 verified megacity. They will be the only place where trades can happen. Now, I mean, interesting kind of theories that you have there, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm not sure if it's going to be limited to verified megacities, but yeah, there will be trading hubs. And what I would like to do, what we're working on at the moment, is that there will be specific buildings for these trading hubs. And I don't know how much work will be involved in building a trading hub, but I imagine there will probably be some significant work involved to play the ecosim to be able to build a trading hub, and they would be kind of places that players would strategically visit to trade in or do other things in. So I just, that comment was pretty cool, and trading hubs, the concept of trading hubs is very cool, so I thought I'd just leave those few comments on that for now. So we have a comment here from Crush City, and Crush City says, do you think people will have to transport resources to their property if they buy from someone off the market? I could see localized resource markets if transportation is too costly. Not sure it will work that way though. So yeah, really interesting comment there, Crush City, and thanks for making that comment. Again, I think this is going to be an interesting thing to see. I think there will potentially be localized resource markets, maybe localized trade centers for different reasons. And I think this will be something that we will realize over a period of time after the ecosim initially launches. And to answer your first question there, yes, players will very likely have to transport, well, they will have to transport raw materials or building blocks to their property if they buy it from someone else, or maybe pay somebody to deliver it. So there will be a lot of different strategies in many different areas of the ecosim when it goes 3D, let me tell you that.